The evening air was thick with the scent of cut grass and barbecue as James Carter tightened the straps on his twin stroller. 4-year-old Eli squirmed in his seat, kicking his light-up sneakers against the footrest, while his sister, Maya, clutched her favorite stuffed rabbit, her wide eyes taking in the tree-lined street of their new neighborhood. "All right, team," James said, adjusting his baseball cap. "First official family walk in the new hood. Let's make it a good one." His wife, Nicole, kissed his cheek before heading back inside. "Don't let them talk you into ice cream before dinner." James grinned. "No promises." The first half of the walk was perfect. Eli babbled about the big trees. Maya waved at passing cars, and James breathed in the quiet satisfaction of their fresh start. The houses here were larger than their old apartment complex, with wide porches and trimmed hedges. Asterisk safe. Stable. Good schools. Asterisk that's what the realtor had promised. Then they turned onto Sycamore Lane. A deep, guttural bark shattered the calm. James's grip tightened on the stroller as a massive Rottweiler lunged against a chain-link fence, its teeth bared, saliva flying. The twins shrieked, and Maya's rabbit tumbled to the sidewalk. "Whoa, easy," James murmured, stepping between the stroller and the dog. He reached slowly for the toy, keeping his movements smooth. "Brutus! Heel!" The voice was sharp, amused. A white man in his 50s stood on the porch of the house adjacent to the fence, a smirk twisting his lips. He didn't call the dog back, just watched as it continued snarling. James forced a polite nod. "You might want to secure your dog, sir. Kids are scared." The man, Carl, according to the faded mailbox, took a sip of his beer. "Brutus don't like strangers." A pause. "Especially your kind, asterisk." The words hung in the air, oily and deliberate. James froze. A familiar heat prickled up his neck, but he exhaled slowly. Asterisk not here. Not in front of him. Asterisk he picked up Maya's rabbit, wiped the dirt off, and handed it back. "Let's go, guys," he said softly, turning the stroller around. Behind him, Carl chuckled. "Yeah, better keep moving." Brutus barked again as they walked away, the sound chasing them down the block. That night, Nicole frowned as she washed Eli's face after dinner. "You're quiet." James scrolled through local leash laws on his phone. Guy down the street let his dog rush us. Called it Brutus. Real charmer. She caught his tone. What did he say? James hesitated. The twins were building block towers in the living room, giggling. Asterisk they didn't understand. They shouldn't have to asterisk. Nothing worth repeating. He kissed her temple. But I'm getting a body cam. The second incident. 3 days later, Brutus wasn't behind a fence. James saw the dog the second they rounded the corner. Off-leash, muscles coiled, staring straight at them. Carl leaned against his mailbox, arms crossed. "Dad," Eli whimpered. James's pulse roared in his ears. He yanked the stroller back, just as Brutus charged. The dog stopped inches away, growling, its breath hot on James's kneecaps. Carl whistled. "Brutus, come." The dog obeyed instantly, trotting back to his owner like a well-trained soldier. Carl scratched behind Brutus's ears. "Told you. He's got a nose for trouble." James's phone was already recording in his pocket. "You're endangering my children." Carl smirked. "Public street, pal. Maybe walk somewhere else." Maya burst into tears. James turned the stroller, his voice steady. "This is the last time." Carl's laughter followed them home. The camera footage. The police officer shifted in his seat as the video played on James's laptop. Brutus's charge. Carl's smug face. The twins' terrified cries. "Look, Mr. Carter, I get it," the officer sighed. "But the dog didn't actually bite anyone, and the guy's careful with his words. Your kind could mean anything. City folks, strangers." James leaned forward. "You heard my daughter scream. That dog's a weapon, and he's aiming it." The officer hesitated, then took the USB. "I'll file a report, but you might want to adjust your walking route." James smiled thinly. "No." He had a better idea. James spent the next week turning his walks into reconnaissance missions. Every evening at 6:15 p.m., he pushed the twins' stroller past Carl's house, phone recording, eyes sharp. He noticed things. Brutus was never leashed after 5 p.m. Carl always had a beer in hand when the dog got loose. The moment James and the kids appeared, Carl would murmur something to Brutus, a command hidden under his breath. But the real breakthrough came from Mrs. Gutierrez, the elderly woman who lived across the street. She flagged James down on Thursday, her floral housecoat fluttering in the breeze. Mijo, you need to see this. Her security footage showed Carl in his backyard 2 nights prior, holding a stuffed black dummy in a hoodie while Brutus tore into it on command. Sickem. Carl's voice crackled through the recording. That's how we handle intruders. James's stomach turned. How long has he been doing this? Mrs. Gutierrez's lips thinned. Since the Johnsons moved out. They were black too. James bought a body cam, small, high-def, clipped to his shirt like a pen. The next evening, he walked the twins past Carl's house alone. No stroller. No distractions. Just him and the rolling camera. Right on cue, Brutus charged. James stood perfectly still as the dog circled him, snarling. Brutus! Carl ambled down the driveway grinning. What did I tell you about sniffing around trash? James kept his voice calm. You train him to do this. Carl spat on the pavement. He's a guard dog. Guard's what's his. James tilted his head. And what's that? Carl's smile faded as he noticed the faint red light on James's chest. Animal control arrived within the hour. The officer, a no-nonsense woman with a scarred forearm, took one look at Mrs. Gutierrez's footage and James's bodycam audio. Sickem is an attack command, she said flatly. This dog's been weaponized. Carl turned purple. He's my property. Not anymore. She snapped a leash on Brutus. State law prohibits training animals to menace. You can fight it in court. As they loaded Brutus into the van, Carl lunged at James, only to be yanked back by a cop. You're dead. He screamed. All of you, The neighborhood watch coordinator, who'd been silently observing, pulled James aside. We've had issues with him before. But this. She handed him a flyer. Emergency meeting tonight. Be there. Dozens of residents packed the community center, black, white, Latino, Asian. Mrs. Gutierrez sat front and center, knitting furiously. The coordinator played James's footage without comment. A stunned silence followed. Then, that's a hate crime, snapped a young biracial couple. My kids play on that street, growled a white Marine. Carl's only defender, a red-faced man in a Don't Tread on Me shirt, was shouted down. James stood. I just want to walk my children safely. The vote to evict Carl, a renter, it turned out, was unanimous. James pushed the twin stroller past Carl's old house, now occupied by a Sikh family. Their daughter waved at Maya and Eli from the porch. Brutus, renamed Buddy, lived with a K-9 officer upstate. Carl's mugshot appeared in the paper after assaulting a bouncer downtown. And the neighborhood safety task force? James was named co-chair. The eviction notice hadn't even yellowed on Carl's former doorstep when the first legal letter arrived. Carter v. Delaney, defamation and emotional distress. James stared at the document, his coffee cooling on the kitchen counter. Carl was suing him for defamation, claiming James had turned the neighborhood against him with edited videos. The demanded amount, $250,000. Nicole snatched the paper, her medical screws rustling. He's delusional. James scrolled through their neighborhood Facebook group, already buzzing with screenshots of Carl's GoFundMe titled Victim of Cancel Culture. Then the doorbell rang. A lanky teenager stood on their porch, shifting from foot to foot. Mr. Carter, you should know, Carl's back. James followed him to the end of the block. There, in a rented U-Haul, Carl unloaded crates beside his cousin's ranch-style house. And pacing behind a makeshift wire fence, a massive, brindle-colored cane corso, its eyes locked onto James like a scope. Meet Caesar, Carl called, patting the dog's spiked collar. Twice as smart as Brutus. The teen whispered, he's been bragging at the gas station. Says this one's trained to hold targets until cops come. James's phone was already recording. Daddy, Maya asked at bath time that night, her curls dripping. Why does the mean man hate us? Eli nodded, clutching his rubber duck. Is it 'cause we're chocolate? The words punched through James's ribs. He soaped their backs carefully. Some people get scared of things that are different. But that's their problem to fix, not yours. Nicole met his gaze over their heads, her eyes blazing. Enough. James spent $387 at Best Buy. 4 Ultra HD cameras now covered every angle of their property, synced to a cloud server even a baseball bat couldn't destroy. The Neighborhood Watch donated 2 more for the sidewalk. Then he made his move. At precisely 6:15 p.m., Carl's favorite harassment hour, James walked alone past the cousin's house, body cam humming. Caesar erupted from the side yard, fangs bared. James stood still as the dog circled, its growl vibrating in his kneecaps. Caesar. Sit! Carl's cousin, a younger carbon copy, ran out barefoot. The dog didn't obey. James kept his voice calm. Call him off. Or what? The cousin smirked. He's doing his job. A distant click. Mrs. Gutierrez's screen door. A dozen neighbors materialized on porches, phones raised. Caesar lunged. James sidestepped right into the path of the arriving police cruiser. The dog clamped onto the officer's riot shield instead. Body cam footage doesn't lie. The video, Caesar's attack, the cousins, he's doing his job admission, Carl screaming fake news. From the driveway, played on every local news station. Charges piled up. Reckless endangerment, cousin. Violating animal cruelty laws, Carl for the training. Filing a false lawsuit, Carl again, after the judge saw the training dummy receipts. But the knockout punch came from an unexpected ally. Name's Rivera, said the cop at the hearing, her German Shepherd service dog panting at her side. Buddy, Brutus was my partner's project. Took 6 months to undo what he did. She glared at Carl. The judge adjusted her glasses. Mr. Delaney, you're prohibited from owning animals for 10 years. And as for this frivolous lawsuit, she sanctioned Carl $5,000 for wasting the court's time. The don't tread on me neighbor, the one who defended Carl, handed James a tool at the community garden. Kid's right, he muttered, nodding at Eli, who was giggling as Maya planted sunflowers. Ain't no sense in hating over skin. James passed him a seedling. Water this daily. We'll see how you feel when it blooms. Down the street, Carl's former rental now housed a therapy dog trainer. Their golden retriever napped on the porch, unleashed, unafraid, and utterly uninterested in hate.